part of Bob Greenleaf's great concern, and he wrote a letter to the board in the late 80s to the effect that he was concerned that what would happen to the Greenleaf Center and to servant leadership once he was gone. And I came to find out after his death that it was a considerable concern for him. And certainly it was a concern for me that, as I accepted the position, I've worked with nonprofits for the last 25 years or more, and have done a lot of reading and studying about nonprofit management. And one of the great dangers that exists with organizations that are named after a founder has to do with what happens after that person is gone. And I can think of more than one instance where an organization named after somebody has basically just sort of withered and died after that because it was so closely identified with that individual. So I was kind of interested myself to see what impact that might have, but saw some ways in which I thought there were real opportunities, in fact, to unleash the growth of the center as an organization, which Bob had kept it as a sort of a hip pocket organization for the entire 25 years of his time, and there was almost never any staff other than Bob. After he started publishing, there was maybe a part-time person who would distribute the essays, take orders, and that sort of stuff. But Bob very intentionally kept it small, in part, I'm sure, to avoid some of the challenges that come with growing an organization, from fundraising to dealing with staff issues and he wanted to keep his focus on his writings and on his consulting work, which he did through the center during that time. Part of what I was intrigued with, though, personally, was what were the possibilities of growing the organization and of really encouraging servant leadership to spread worldwide. And thankfully, what has happened since Bob's death has been not a withering, but a real blossoming of servant leadership. Some of it has to do with intentional things that we have done within the center. A lot of it has to do with, I think, the times catching up with a lot of what Bob was writing about in the 70s and 80s, and there's just been I think, a sea change which is taking place within organizations and within society. A dissatisfaction with some of the historical ways that we've had for operating organizations and the way in which decisions get made, and a real yearning, sometimes people not knowing exactly what it is they want to have happen, but knowing that they are dissatisfied with what exists. And I believe that servant leadership has provided many people, from the bottom to the top of organizations, from people who are teaching in universities to a lot of the better known names in leadership studies and leadership education today. If you look at Warren Bennis or Stephen Covey, Margaret Wheatley, Ken Blanchard, Peter Senge, James Autry, a whole host of people have, over the last 10, 15 years, acknowledged how Greenleaf's writings and servant leadership have helped to inspire them in their own thought development. And so there's just a kind of a blossoming that is taking place at the present time that I think Bob Greenleaf would have been just astounded, and I hope really happy to see the impact of his writings. We all know of people historically who weren't really recognized in their lifetime for their impact. I think of Van Gogh in terms of his paintings, and he never sold a painting during his lifetime, but today his paintings are priceless and he's greatly recognized. And I feel kind of that way about Bob Greenleaf, though he had a growing reputation and appreciation during his lifetime, but I think his greatest impact is still to come. We've seen a lot more of it in the last 10 years, but I think we're going to see a whole lot more in the next 20 years and into the future. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity I had to have my one visit with Bob Greenleaf, and certainly, perhaps even more, to have had the opportunity to get to meet a lot of people who knew him and to listen to their stories. I've read through all of his archival papers over many years, and so have come to feel like I have a real sense of Bob, through some, including some intimate, journals and dream recording of dreams that he had, and as well as his more public writings.